So I am excited to share today's launch with you guys. I've worked really hard on the designs for today's release, and then also the new ink color is just so awesome, and it really fills in a certain kind of piece in the line that I think we were missing. So without further ado, let's turn down my work surface and get right into the release. All right, so let me go over to here. The first color that we have is Breakup Blue. This is an amazing new ink color. It's almost like this kind of baby blue color, I would say. It's really just this stunning blue, and it's something that we really were missing from the line. I know we have quite a few blues and blue-greens in the line, but this is completely different, and it really, really looks like it's going to fill in a whole different section of the line. So here is Breakup Blue. I love this color. You guys can see it's almost got a little tiny bit of purple in it, I would say. It's nowhere on the green side, but in my opinion, it's kind of this really true blue. You can see for both of these, I kind of sprayed a little bit of water on them so you can see how that reacts with the water droplets. These are them blended out. Here I did a little bit lighter blending. Here I went in with a couple different layers of that color. And because it's a translucent dye-based ink, you can layer it up to make it a little bit darker if you would like. There it is stamped with one of the new images, so you're already getting a little sneak peek. And then here it is swiped out, and you can just see this color is just stunning. Yes, like you guys are saying, it's a little bit periwinkle, but for me, it's just kind of this really true blue. Yes, this is actually available for order, so that is a really good question. Everything is available right now for order. I'm going to put a link in the chat right now so you guys can check it out. And everything from today's release is available for shopping right now, which is super exciting. So thank Ranger for doing that, for putting it for sale right away for you guys. And other retailers, if they don't have it right now, they should have it up on their sites very soon because we shipped it out for them beforehand. So here is Breakup Blue. Now let's compare it to some of the other colors from my line. So of course, Breakup Blue is the newest color. This is kind of that cool tone blue. And like I told you guys, it is nothing like any of the other colors that we have in our line. So it's really been a goal of mine to just make sure that we're filling in gaps and not just overlapping with the rest of the product line. Right, so here's Clear Skies. You can see that this one is, I don't know how to explain it, like maybe a little bit more tealish, kind of a green color, definitely a little bit more happier and vivid, but I love that Breakup Blue fills in kind of a more pastel part of the line. Then we have Remember Me, which is just one step darker than Clear Skies in that same kind of color family. And then we have Midnight Snack. And I was kind of looking beforehand and I was like, okay, so Midnight Snack kind of goes along with Breakup Blue. It's a lot darker, of course, but it's almost got the same kind of purplish hue undertone. So I would kind of link that in the same color family. And I'm really excited to use all of these blues together. You'll see in some of my examples, mixing them all together and getting the different tones and variations really bring your projects to life. So I'm super excited about those. So now I wanted to also share, this also not even just fills in the blue section of the line, but with my whole line, we've really released a lot of super bright colors. And you guys have been talking with me, and I've heard a lot that you guys are loving these new pastel colors that we are releasing. So we have Piggyback, we have Sidewalk Chalk, of course Minty Fresh. They're kind of scattered all around my desk, but Over the Moon. I think these are kind of the pastels that we have so far, but I'm excited to kind of continue filling in this section of the line too, because if you're more into lighter blends or getting some really soft effects on your cards, these are still very cheerful colors, but they're a lot softer than the rest of the line. So if you absolutely are loving these colors, I hope we can release more like it, where we kind of fill in some of the lighter sections of the line, because we really did have lots of really powerful tones, which I love for using on my cards, but these really fill in a whole section too. So there is the new color, Breakup Blue. I absolutely love it so much. It's been such an awesome color to add to my collection. Now I'm going to just go in. I do not sell minis yet in the collection, so that is a good question, but we'll definitely be looking into that in the future. Yes, the ink pad label definitely matches that color very truly, which I really like. And then this kind of lighter tone in here is what it'll look like when you add water onto it. So I really like that we kind of do that with the water kind of droplets on there, so you can really tell what that color is going to look like. Yes, I do also want to mention this, you can purchase it along with a reinker. It doesn't come along with, but you can purchase the reinker separately. I recommend doing that when you have almost a lighter tone like this. So I don't, usually recommend getting a reinker right away with all the tones. Of course, if you want to, you can, because they do last quite a while. But if you have, let's say, like a color like Game Over, right? This is a really dark and saturated red. Now, this is a lot different than this, right? Because when this starts getting a little bit dry, it's going to become a little bit lighter. That's going to be totally fine because it's a super dark tone right away, right? But for a color like Breakup Blue or a color like Piggyback, where they're already light and kind of muted, you're going to want to pick up a reinker right away. That way, you know for sure, and as this color starts lightening up, you know to just reink it because it's already kind of a lighter tone. So I do like to recommend that when you're getting some of the lighter colors from the line. All right. I am in love with that color, and I hope you guys will absolutely adore it as much as I have. And now I'm going to get into sharing some of the design products like the stamps, background stamps, and stencils, and then we'll get into sharing all of the amazing projects I created using the new products. So let's turn on my desk. I'm going to start off with the clear stamp set. This is a little bit of a smaller design release, but I just absolutely had so much fun playing with it anyway. So this one is called Puddle Pals. I love this stamp set so much. And I want to bring out a card base. So this is an A2 card base, 4 1/4 inches by 5.5 inches, and I just wanted to show you guys, these images are quite large for cards, which I absolutely love. It's been one of my goals as well to just make these images so that you can use 1 or 2 images on your cards and really make them stand out as the focal point. I don't always love it when there's stamp sets that have a bunch of little tiny images in it, because then you literally need to use every image from the stamp set to make a card, right? So I wanted a couple different bigger focal points to really make it so that it's easy to create a full card with it and you don't have to add too many images. So we have this amazing little girl with her umbrella. I love that one so much. Then we have the little boy who can be jumping up in puddles, and he can also hold this umbrella in the center. Of course, we have the umbrella and all the solid pieces like the handle and the top of the umbrella to fill that in with stamping, and even, look, even that little tiny top for the umbrella. Of course, you don't need that, but we wanted to include it in case if you're stamping those all in. Then we have the puddle down here, kind of a splash of water, and then of course some little splashes you can add. This is for if he's jumping and creating a little mark in the puddle. Then we have 3 clouds, one of the outlines, and then a couple of different droplets. This adorable little corgi in a rain jacket. I absolutely love that. And then, of course, tons of different sentiments. And I love these sentiments so much. They're super encouraging. So we have, after every storm comes a rainbow. You make me happy when skies are gray. When life gives you a rainy day, play in the puddles. I love that one. Life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's learning to dance in the rain. I'm here for you, rain or shine. Splash, which you can just add kind of above him or right next to the puddle. We'll weather this storm together. And sorry you're feeling under the weather. So lots of great encouraging sentiments. I always love encouragement because I feel like encouragement sentiments are something you could really send to anybody at any time, because everybody could always use a little bit of encouragement. So this is such a fun set. And like I said, we're not releasing a ton right now, but I've had so much fun playing with this stamp set and just making a ton of different cards with it. All right, so let's move into the background stamp now. Now this one might take a little bit of explaining, right? And I'm definitely going to share an example using this one as well a little bit later. So these are red rubber cling background stamps, like super high quality red rubber made by Stampers Anonymous for us, which they do an amazing job. This one is called Splish Splash, and it is this kind of solid and negative puddles, which is super cool. Of course, you could just use this and stamp it as kind of a texture in the background, and it just does create this really cool kind of abstract looking texture, no matter what card you're creating it with. But I like to stamp this on a colored cardstock like this, and we'll do it in a little bit to create kind of a tone-on-tone look, and I'll share exactly how this background stamp works. It really can create some amazing backgrounds, and of course, all of these people are playing and jumping in puddles, so of course make them jump in the puddles. You know, it's just a really fun abstract background to use behind them. So I won't talk too much about this one, but I'm going to be showing some examples later and really create with it in front of you guys in a little bit here. So we'll move this off to the side, but this is one of my favorite stamps I've created. I spent hours and hours trying to perfect this and make sure that it was perfect, and I think that we did a really great job at making this look like actual puddles. All right, so last but not least, we have this stencil, sorry. This one is called Geometry, and I love this one. It's got a bunch of different shapes in it, some really kind of abstract designs, and this stencil is so super cool when you kind of tape off certain sections of it and do different sections in different colors, and get some really awesome geometric effects. So yeah, this one is a ton of fun. Does it really go along with the rain theme? Not necessarily, but I still had so much fun with it, and I think you could use a geometric pattern like this on so many different cards. I just have loved playing with this, and you guys will see one of the really colorful and amazing cards I created with it. Hey, Carissa. Okay. Yes, so multi-purpose stamps and stencils for sure, Robin. We, make sure to create them for all different scenarios and make sure that you can create them kind of, whether you want to make this an abstract background, like I said, or whether you want to use this as kind of a geometric abstract background. It doesn't always need to be exactly what it was intended to be. You can really kind of have your own creativity and create whatever you want with it. So this is the release. Again, like I said, it's a smaller release. We do have more stuff coming out in May in a little bit, and I'm super excited for that one as well. But just this stuff is fit perfectly in April and is just such a fun way to celebrate the awesome rain we're getting and the amazing, beautiful new weather that we get as we turn into the warmer weather around here. I know it's definitely getting a little bit warmer in Wisconsin, which is exciting. It definitely snowed, I think, about a week ago, but now we're back into the warmer weather. Wisconsin's having a hard time making up its mind, but I hope you guys are having great weather where you are as well. So now let's get into some of the samples that I created. So this card is just stunning, right? So this one is using, oh, I forgot to even tell you guys. We have this stencil. This looks like rain, and I had them put it near the top of the website. In fact, I'll leave another link to go shopping for this release. It's shipping right now. This is the Looks Like Rain stencil, and we released this, I think, in our first Simon Hurley Create release 2 years ago at Creativation, which is so fun. But this works perfectly along with this release as well, of course, with the rainy day theme. So I had them put it to the top of the site as well, because I know there's a lot of new people here that weren't there for that first release. So of course, if you want to purchase this along with some of the products, you'll see it used in a lot of my samples today. It's a really awesome stencil, and I don't always feel the need to create something new, so if you guys already have this, that's awesome. And if you guys want to purchase it along with your release today, go for it. But I didn't want to be redundant and create more rain stencils. We already had one. So I wanted to mention that. All right, so here is the first card that I created. This is just using the umbrella from the Puddle Pals stamp set. I watercolored it with a couple new colors of my inks, and then I did this whole background using that breakup blue color. So I lightly blended it in the background, and then I went in with the Looks Like Rain stencil, and I did a little bit of layering. I blended it down, again with breakup blue to make it a little bit darker, and then I also lifted off some of the color to create those water splotches, and I just think this one is so much fun. And then a little bit of glossy accents to make that umbrella kind of stand out and shine on the card. Yes, that rain stencil, I use it all the time as well. I love it for cards like this. This might be one of my favorite projects I created, and I'm going to share how to create a background just like this as well. So this is using the Puddle Pals stamp set, of course, for this little guy. I love the shading and blending I was able to do with my ink pads. And then, of course, the umbrella from that same set, I made him holding on to it. And then I used that Splish Splash background. This was stamped down, and then I went in and blended it. I like to make sure to add a little bit of color in the background. You'll kind of see how I create with it. But it just creates a really awesome looking puddle and kind of watery background. And I love that sentiment. Life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's learning to dance in the rain, which is just so true, right? Go with your surroundings and kind of, learn to work through it and be in those problems, because lots of problems happen every day. And I think it's just such an amazing encouragement card if someone's going through something a little bit hard and you want to be there for them. All right, so let's talk about these cards. I had so much fun with these. So this was using the Puddle Pals stamp set. I used the girl holding the umbrella image, and I cut out the umbrella, and then I stamped it again and put it underneath it to create a shaker card. I actually created a whole video on these cards, so I'm going to be releasing those as we kind of go throughout the week this week. So you guys will, as you get your stamp sets, you'll of course get lots of videos for techniques and inspiration using them. But this is a fun shaker card. So I just added a couple little sequins in there, and of course they shake and move around, and it's a really fun one to kind of cut the umbrella out and use that to create a shaker. And then of course the Looks Like Rain stencil is in the background above. Another one with the shaker card, I did the same thing but using the puddle image from the Puddle Pals stamp set. So I used the little boy kind of jumping in the puddles. When life gives you a rainy day, play in the puddles. The looks like rain stencil, again, like I said. If you don't have that one, it is a game changer for these kind of cards. And then, of course, lots of blue sequins in there to create a fun shaker card, which is just adorable. I love it. Someone said if you do darker blues and blacks, it could be a night sky. Of course it could be. I love that idea. All right, so this one I used the geometry stencil, and like I said, taping off each individual section doesn't take too long, but it creates this stunning, stunning background. So I love this so much. It just created a really bright and bold background. Kind of reminds me of Laura Basson a little bit, her amazing style with all those different colors in there. This is just all different colors on my inks. And then I went in with the Sentimental Flowers stamp set. I love that one for all the different sentiments, and I love kind of how big and handwritten the sentiments are. So I used that on there. Added a few sequins. I finally unpacked my sequins, so I've been adding them more to cards now. As you can see, we finally created a shaker card, and I love how that looks. Alright, so there were the card projects that I created using this. I just think these are so much fun to create with, and of course, like I said, I had a blast with these, and I'll definitely be creating more cards over the next few weeks, creating using this release. Thank you. Yeah, the geometry stencil is one of my favorites I've created. I think it's just so much fun. And imagine like putting a paste through this or embossing it to create a fun little resist. There's so many different things you could do with it, but just all these beautiful colors in here really make it shine and bring it to life. Yeah, that would make a cool guy card for sure. All right, so let's talk now about the Splish Splash background stamp, because I think that one's important to kind of run over and give you guys a few different tips using it. Right, so here is the background stamp. I absolutely love it. I love that we kind of created those like solid areas and then the puddles by themselves. I think it really adds to the fun of this stamp. It's kind of the randomness of the puddles. So let's start off with a piece of Gina K cardstock. I think this is Turquoise Sea. I absolutely love her colors. And I would use Breakup Blue, but I don't think it's really that color. So we'll use Breakup Blue for the next one. But Clear Skies we'll use because it kind of matches this, and I think it'll give it a cool, darker tone-on-tone effect. So one way that I like to use this stamp is going onto a piece of colored cardstock to give it a tone-on-tone look. I like it. Yeah, geometry is a fun name for that for sure. I like this because I want these areas in it to be darker because they're almost the ripples on the water, and then the other parts will be like highlights. So I go in with the color, and this one's going to, I think, stamp a little bit darker, hopefully, than the cardstock. So I'll just go in with Clear Skies and ink this up. Go all around. There we go. A boring minute of Simon inking up a stamp, but I'm sure you guys are going to love this. So I'll just mist it a little bit. I always like to mist before I do like a background like this. I find that it kind of moves and blends the color a little bit, but if you want it to be super crisp, you can do that as well. I don't know what I'm doing. This is how I stamp a background stamp. I usually place the cardstock right into it, and then I just give good pressure all the way around to make sure that the whole thing is going to stamp beautifully. So we'll just kind of follow my fingers around the edges and give it some good pressure. And look at that background, right? So there's a little bit of water here and there because of this spray that we did, but I just absolutely love this. And like I said, I usually stamp it so that the background is the darker one and then the cardstock is the lighter color. I find that that adds kind of the highlight effect to it, but if you want to do it the opposite way around, of course you could. I wonder what it would look like too, like if you went in with a little bit of white pigment ink on here. I didn't unpack my white pigment ink still. My studio is in the works, and we are maybe 1 month away from finishing it, which I'm super excited about, but I've been unpacking more things as we go. But yeah, I love the look of this so much. And just imagine then, you just put a little critter on it, use this as your background to create your card, and it is such a fun background stamp. It just creates this beautiful puddle texture. So let me put a link in the chat again so you guys can go shopping if you would like for this release. I'll be here still if you want to go ahead and leave right now to go purchase anything. So there that is stamped out on the cardstock like this. So that gives a beautiful tone-on-tone effect with the background stamp. But what if we wanted to go in and create a background like we did for the card that I created? I really ended up absolutely loving this background, and I didn't expect it to turn out like this, and I absolutely love how it turned out. So let's go in and create something similar to this. So let me set this off to the side. Yeah, it just adds to the splash look, right? The water in there, that's why I like to kind of spray it for textures like this. It just adds a little bit of variation into there. All right, so let's go in with a piece of my stark white cardstock. I love this stuff. I can't rave about it enough. It is so awesome. So I'm gonna go in with a couple different colors. We'll bring in Breakup Blue, Clear Skies, Midnight Snack, and I'm pretty sure that's all I used in here. You could always go in with Remember Me or a couple greens as well, but I want to keep it just in the blue family today to really show you guys these. So I'll start off with a little bit of Breakup Blue because that's the lightest color, and I'll go lightest to darkest here, and I'll add lots of Breakup Blue in here so you guys can kind of see how that color looks. I love it. It creates like this, it's perfect for the rain release because it's almost like this kind of stormy, cloudy color that I really love. Okay, then we'll go in with a little bit of Clear Skies here and there. Go up there too. Just kind of randomly add the colors in, to be honest. And then we'll finish it off with a little bit of Midnight Snack. Tap that color in. Don't need to be too precise either. I'm just kind of throwing some colors here and there because, like I said, I like to stamp with some water, and so we're going to be kind of mixing and blending all of these colors together. So I think that's pretty good. Let me add a little bit more right there. They don't need to be blended, but you want to just make sure that you have some color down on the stamp, right? You're not missing any areas of the stamp. So then I'm going to go in with my water sprayer, and I'm just going to go in, and it depends what look you want by how much water you're going to spray down. We'll see how this turns out. I can always stamp it again, because that's one thing I love about these stamps is you can use them as many times as you want, which is so exciting for me. I know a lot of people love patterned paper and things like that, but for me, a stamp is so much fun because you get to hand make every single background, and of course, you could do it as many times as you want, right? You don't feel obligated to not use it because it's going to disappear. Oh, I just love that. So look at that effect. When you add a little bit of water, it turns a little bit lighter, of course. So there is the new color, the Breakup Blue, kind of over here and here. And then, of course, the Midnight Snack really took over this background. And then we have Clear Skies and stuff as well mixed in here. So, yes, everybody's saying the background is very Van Gogh. I didn't actually see it like that until one of my design team members got it, and she was like, that would be an amazing sky. It almost looks like a Van Gogh painting. And I was like, oh, that's kind of a really awesome idea. So yeah, you could really use it for so many different things. I could see like doing a little sky and then like flicking some stars into the sky too, like a little bit of white paint, and make a cool background like that as well. All right, so let's go into here, and I'm going to just heat set this a little bit so everything is gonna dry. All right, so I'm bringing in my heat tool, and there is nice and dry now, and then I can go in and show you. So of course, you could keep the background like this, right? I love this background and how it looks just as it is, but I think it's going to be really awesome to kind of add a little bit of color in there, almost like it's a colored cardstock, but right, you can't take a piece of colored cardstock that's already colored like this. So I'm gonna go in with some blending tools. I'll go in with a blending brush here. I like this for when I'm trying to get a really soft color. If you struggle with ensuring that you're gonna get a nice soft blend, this is kind of your way to go. It really ensures that you're not gonna get too much color down in there because it takes a little bit more work to add the color down and get a really saturated color with the blending brushes. So I'm gonna go in with Midnight Snack first. I probably should have went the other way around because I only have one blending brush for the blues, but it's okay. So I'm going to go in here and of course just tap my color lightly, and then I'm going to follow along wherever the colors are in this background. So of course I see this is Midnight Snack, and we're using a little bit of Midnight Snack here. So we'll go in and blend over top of that. get rid of, I just kind of like that it gets rid of a little bit of that stark white color, and it almost makes it, like I said, kind of blend in like a puddle. That's why I love this background stamp for using on colored cardstocks and stuff like that, because it doesn't make it too like stark white in the background, and it almost completes the full background then. All right, so I'm gonna wipe it off to the side. We'll go in with a little bit of Clear Skies now. And this is why I love these blending brushes, because it makes it just super easy to only get down a little bit of color, and I'm pushing just as hard as I would with a regular blending tool. Sometimes I'm a little too heavy-handed, so that's why I like these. All right, go in here and fill in some of the edges. But of course, if I was just going in and trying to get like a normal blend, I would probably go in with a blending tool to get it more saturated. And then last but not least, I'm gonna go in, wipe that off tremendously because this is a totally different color. And then we will go in and blend this out. And there we can see that really awesome kind of light color that has the breakup blue there. Love it. We'll fill this in. And then in this bottom corner. There we go. I love that I got to share this with you because I was just having so much fun with this background stamp and playing with the different things you could do with it, because it is a little bit of a strange looking abstract stamp, and I think sometimes people don't know how to react to that. But of course, go in, play with inks and things like that, and create a really fun background. And of course, if you want to even make it look more like puddles and rain, my inks do react with water, so go in with your distress sprayer and just add a couple of water droplets throughout. That's what I did on the last one, and I just love, look at that reaction that goes in there. I just love it. So that is this background and how you can create these really awesome looking puddles in it. And of course, go in with inks if you want it a little bit more abstract, and go in and stamp it down onto a piece of cardstock if you want it a little bit less. So I just cannot wait to see what you guys do with this one. There's so many different possibilities and options of the different ways you could use it because it's so abstract, which is what I love about it. So let's talk. Someone in the comments asked if there are coordinating dies. There are not coordinating dies to go along with the Puddle Pals stamp set. However, you can purchase a, it's like a cut file for your Silhouette or Cricut machine, any kind of cutting machine like that. You can purchase a cut file and then download it to your computer, and then you can cut out all the images and then stamp them onto there. But I find fussy cutting is not too difficult because of the images are a little bit bigger like we talked about earlier. They're pretty easy to cut out. All right, so let me set this off to the side, and then let's go in. What should we do? Should we go in and stamp an image down? I think that'd be kind of fun. Let's see, how long have I been live streaming for? All right, I've been live for only 29 minutes. I think we can play and create a little card here as well. So let's do it. All right, so I'm gonna go in with my Puddle Pals. I almost said the stencil name. And I'm gonna go in with, let's do this little guy. He kind of looks like me, like you guys were saying, so I think we'll use him in today's card. And then, should I use that dog too? I haven't used the dog yet. Nah, we'll save him for another card. And then maybe I'll just throw in an umbrella just in case if I'm gonna use that. All right, and I love these acrylic blocks. They have been my favorite. These are my acrylic block pack. They come in a pack of 2 like this, and I've opened like several packs now, and just they're all over my desk because they are my favorite acrylic blocks by far. Just the way that they're kind of a little bit thinner, but not too thin. You can easily get a grip on them, but you're not going to drop them because they're super heavy. So I love them. What am I looking for? I really just spaced out there for a second. All right, so we have a piece of stark white cardstock. And then let's go in and stamp down my images. So I'm going to use a little bit of jet black archival ink. Oh, y'all really want to see that dog. Okay, so we'll give it good pressure. And then it's not too thick where you can't give pressure through it too, which is what I love. I truly have no idea where my embossing powder went. Oh, it's right in front of me. You guys are really seeing like the real version of me crafting today. Because I haven't done one of these lives in a while. So you guys are getting to see it. And like usually it would be like, oh, I'm going to edit out me looking for my embossing powder. But today, no, you guys are going to see all of that. So I love stamping in my Jet Black Archival ink because number one, it's a waterproof and permanent ink when I'm doing my watercoloring with my ink pads. But I also like stamping in it because it's got like an oil base to it. So it takes a little bit longer to completely dry. And so because of that, it stays wet under the surface of the cardstock. So I'm able to throw over a layer of clear embossing powder. And clear embossing powder is absolutely amazing for when I'm going in and doing watercoloring. It helps to make sure that things don't bleed into each other. So that's why I love it. All right. So I'm going to go in. Let me just mute you guys so you don't have to suffer through this. I'll be 1 second. All right, let me know if you guys can hear me again. I am back. Sometimes I just don't like to leave it on during the heat tool because that is incredibly loud for you guys. So let's go in. Lots of you guys saying that you are loving this set and loving the sentiments. Lots of you guys are saying you love the background stamp. So there's so many different things you could do with it. I'll leave a link again in the chat in case if you guys want to go through and purchase anything. They are shipping already, which is really awesome that Ranger has it on the site already. So I'm gonna go in with a couple of different colors of my ink pads. Here I'm starting off with a little bit of Gur. Then I'll go in with a little bit of, I would use Breakup Blue, but because we already, actually, you know what? We're doing it. We're going in with a little bit of Breakup Blue. And then we'll bring in a little bit of Midnight Snack, because like I said, those are kind of in the same color family and we'll use them as shading. Here we'll bring in a little bit of Slippery When Wet. And I'm just going onto a craft sheet here to create a little palette of my inks. So then we'll go in with a little bit of Traffic Cone. Let's see, I'm looking for one color in particular, Over the Moon, because this is how I create my skin tones as of now. And let's see, I think that's it. I'll add more if I need them as we go. And then let's start my watercoloring. So with my watercoloring process, I love to kind of walk you guys through this. And I'm actually glad we're doing this live because there's a lot of people who ask about different watercolor techniques and how I watercolor with my inks. And so I'll give you guys some tips and techniques in today's live on how to get some really easy watercoloring. All right, so I like to go in with one of Ranger's brushes. These are just like a pack of Ranger artist brushes. They're not expensive. That's why I like them. I don't think you need a super expensive brush, but I also like that it's a paintbrush. I used to use just a water brush and I find you don't get enough control with it. So this is my favorite brush for going in with watercoloring. And I just spray the water onto my craft sheet as well. I don't love having a huge dish of water because you don't need that much. And also I would spill it, knowing me. You guys saw me. I didn't even find my embossing powder earlier, so we're a little bit clumsy when we're crafting. So I'm going to go in with just a little tiny bit of water. You don't need a lot. A little bit goes a long way. We're not trying to flood the image here, but I just want to add a little bit of water down onto the surface before we go in with our color, because that'll give it a little bit of time to move around. If you go in with a color right away, it's just going to sink right into the cardstock, and that is not what we want. And also, I'm just using Stark White cardstock today. No watercolor cardstock or anything like that. I've actually just started using my Stark White cardstock as a watercolor paper, and honestly, it works. It works for the coloring I want to do. So there's my dog. So I'm going to go in and do the exact same thing on the other side. Just paint it in with a little bit of water. All right, and then we'll go in with a little bit of Slippery When Wet again. So we'll just start adding this color in. And you can see, by adding that water in, it gives you a little bit more time to move around that color, and it's not going to sink into the surface. It's one of my biggest tips I've learned with watercoloring, because I used to just grab the color and go straight on, and it's like that is where you make your biggest mistake, because it doesn't give you enough time to move around the color. And with watercolors, they're very forgiving like this, but you have to apply them right at the beginning. All right, so there we have our coat first layer colored in. Now I'm going to add a little bit more water onto my brush here, and then I'm going to dip into traffic cone. And you can see just the tiniest little bit of traffic cone, because that's going to be a dark color there. And then we'll add a little bit more water and start blending that out. And you'll notice I didn't go in with a heat tool and dry my image first. I want to let the colors kind of blend into each other like this. That is super helpful when you're watercoloring. All right. Yes, and of course the replay will still be up, so if anybody in the chat missed any of this, you can of course always go back. It's going to be up. All right, so look at that, just like super easy. And like I said, I'm just like touching the tip of my brush into there and then bringing it to the cardstock, and that color is just so saturated, so you don't need a lot of it at all. And our surface is already kind of wet because of that yellow, so you don't need to go in with too much water either. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes with watercolor, is going in with too much water, because then you have like water pooling everywhere and like filling over, and I used to do that as well. But I just go in with like the tiniest bit of water, barely any. It's almost like dry brushing the color on, but that gives me the most control. And honestly, it almost looks like Copics in the end. Like just the way that it blends so easily with a couple different tips and techniques, it really works nicely. All right, so I'm gonna go to this bottom corner and start blending some of that color out. Then we'll even add a little bit more darkness into there. Don't be afraid of it, because you can always go back in with your brush and clean it off, and then just go in with more water to bring that color back into the coat. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I hope it's not too boring, because sometimes when I'm just sitting here and slowly watercoloring, I know sometimes it can get a little bit slow, but I hope you guys are enjoying kind of learning the different techniques that I use. All right, so I'll go in with a little bit more water then. And if you make any mistakes, the water is going to be your most forgiving thing. So if it's like, oh, you want to add a little bit more color in, or oh, you added too much, kind of water it down, and that can really be super helpful. Go into the hood with a little bit of color, and then I want to blend this out. So if you want like a color to stop in a certain area, you can always go in with a little bit of water. Add a little bit to this side and over here. There you can see I use like no water, and it's still adding it onto the surface. So like, especially in these little areas where we want to make sure that we're getting into precise detail, we don't need any water. All right. There we go. We have the coat all complete. It took a little while, but it's pretty simple once you get the hang of the technique and how it works. And then I love this Ranger heat tool. This one is going to be your best friend. A lot of people ask me, what's the difference between the heat tool that I use to heat up my embossing powder and this? The difference is this is much quieter, number one. But it comes to the same heat, it just spreads the heat out more. So it's not going to blast my image, and it's not going to reheat the embossing powder right away, unless if you keep it there for super long. But what this is going to do is it's just going to dry this color a little bit. And when you're watercoloring, you do want to dry in between, especially if you didn't heat emboss it. Now heat embossing, like I said, the clear heat embossing is going to be your best friend when you're watercoloring, because it'll help to avoid bleeding. But also, drying in between layers is going to help, because if I'm moving on to a next layer, I don't want the color to bleed. And you can see I didn't dry it until it's completely and totally dry. I just dried it a little bit. What size brush am I using? It's a 6, I guess. There's a little 6 on there. But I also use the smaller one, and to be honest, I just didn't use it today because I have no idea on my desk where it is, where I put it. But that's my favorite one, the smaller one. But I think it comes in a big pack, like for, I think it's like $12. Like, it's very cheap for a whole pack of brushes, but I have been using them all and love them all for my watercoloring. All right, so let's go in with a little bit of breakup blue for his jeans. Go in here. That looks like a blue jean. I love that, because I used to use clear skies, and it creates a really vibrant color. But I like that this is almost like faded blue jeans. That's what it kind of looks like there. It's almost like just a whitewashed pair of jeans. All right, so then I'm going to go in with a little bit of Midnight Snack and a little less water, and just touch it to the edge there. And then same thing on the other side here. And then, of course, wipe off your brush, go in with a little bit of water, and blend it out. And if you want to, you can always go in with less water and just touch a little bit more of that dark color to the edge. Guys, it's so easy when you get the hang of it, but I love that we're doing this because I've done a couple of videos on these techniques, but like it's sped up and it's really not in detail and not in depth. And I think you just need to see a lot of different ways as I'm doing it and a couple of the different mistakes that I run into, and then it'll really help you out. All right, so let's go in. I did miss a color. I want a little bit of gray. Woof, which is named after my dog. Woof and Gur. All right, so I'm gonna go into here with a little bit of gray for his boots. And then again, bring a little bit more color in from the edge just to add some shading in. Yes, Breakup Blue is the new name of the ink, yes. I'm glad this is not boring for you guys. I'm glad you're learning some new techniques here. And then, of course, I put down a little bit of Over the Moon and a little bit of Gur for a skin tone. And basically, what you could do with this is, of course, just mix those two colors together and create whatever skin tone you want. If you want it to be a little bit darker, add a little bit more Gur into it, and then bring it down. And you can, of course, make it darker. You can even make it darker than that. But what I love about this as a skin tone is, of course, you could use it to create whatever different skin tone you want, which is really helpful. But I like to bring a little bit of Over the Moon into it instead of just using Gur, because this brings a little bit more warmth into it, which is I think is really nice. So that is what I use. I know a lot of people ask what I use for a skin tone. There may be skin tones in the future that we create that are already made, you know, some great colors for that. But right now, this is what we got, and I like that you can mix it to create whatever shade you want. It's really customizable that way. All right. So I'll just go in and bring a little bit of that in here. Paint it down. And then when it comes to shading, I'm not too particular like anybody else. Like I don't find the sunlight or anything like that. Basically, I'll just go in with a little bit more of that darker color and shade like underneath his hairline, because like his hair is going to be going over his face kind of in that area, and then like underneath the chin and wherever things like meet, like his coat is meeting him here, so I'll add a little bit of darker color. But there's no real method to my madness there. It's just adding a little bit of shading here and there. And then I really like one specific color, which I currently have in my drawer. It is Rosy Cheeks, and this is honestly perfect for exactly what it says, giving rosy cheeks. So I'm just going to go in here and add a little tiny bit of that pink to his cheeks. It kind of brightens him up a little bit. And then last but not least, we'll go in with the hair and just fill that in. You notice I didn't go in with water there. Sometimes if it's like something so simple like just the hair or something super small like that, it's not really necessary. And then I can just go in with way less water even to darken it up if I want to. So I'll just make it a little bit darker there. Look at how fun that is. So it's just those simple techniques that really help to get that shading and learn it really, and get all those different techniques down. And I love how that looks. All right. I don't know if I'm going to do the umbrella. I think I just want to make a puddle maybe. I think that's what I'll do today. I don't think the umbrella is needed because I want him to kind of just be dancing in the rain. But of course you could apply all the same techniques to the puddle or to the umbrella as well. All right, now before we go into anything else, I want to just share this because I know I'm going to get yelled at by some people otherwise. So you can always go in and spray this down and use any of those ink colors to dip it in with another piece of Stark White cardstock and create a whole new background. So there we go. We have a background all started, and I actually love that. I just dipped into some of the brighter colors here that I had down, and it creates this beautiful background. And honestly, you could stamp down an umbrella onto this and get this cool kind of texture and pattern into it that's super random. So that could be a really cool way to use that umbrella stamp and create a cool umbrella top by like going into one of these areas. All right. So there we go. We've got all of that. Ink on there. Now let's go in and talk about cutting this out. Now when it comes to fussy cutting, I love these Fiskars spring assist scissors. I did talk about the cut files earlier, and of course you could get those if you have one of those machines. But for me, it's just super easy to go in with these scissors. I know a lot of people kind of complain about fussy cutting, and I honestly used to too, before I found these. I like them because they have kind of this really small precision tip that's able to get into a lot of different detailed areas, but they also have this spring in them which spring back out as you're cutting. So it's a lot less work because you're not doing the work to like open the scissors back up with your finger. It makes it super easy to cut anything out. And then I also just move my paper instead of moving the scissors. And that's going to get you this really easy, smooth cutting all the way around your image. So I'll just go in here, and I leave a little bit of a white border as well. I like to do that because my cutting is not going to be perfect, right? And so leaving that little bit of a border leaves you a little bit of room to kind of go around and also not get into all the tiny little details. It really helps out to just cut out the image and not worry too much about it. And also, I like to leave a white border as well. I'm really letting you guys in on all my tips and secrets here. But the white border also, like if I created a colorful background, it really helps to make the image separate from the background. So if the whole background is colorful, the little bit of white that's around the edge will make it stand out and pop from the rest of the card that we created. So that's a really good tip as to why you might want to leave that little bit of a white border. It kind of helps draw your eye to that focal point image. All right, we're almost done here, guys. Here we go. Do I ever wash my rag? Unfortunately not. Sometimes I replace the rag, but they are just like old t-shirts and stuff that we have cut up, so it's not anything that's super important. All right, so there we go. There we have our little dude there. I love how that looks once it's all cut out. I'll have every piece of supplies linked down below afterwards, so all the scissors and stuff like that, I'll have those linked after. Hey Kathy, I haven't looked at the chat in a long time. But yes, I'm super excited about this image. So let's go in and, should we finish it off with this? I think that's kind of a fun image to finish it off with, for sure. So let's go in and cut this down. And I'll cut it down like that. Kathy says you are a human die cut machine. Yes, I honestly love fussy cutting. All right, so I think we're gonna do it like this. Almost like he's dancing in the rain there, or in the puddles. So we'll go in with a little bit of foam tape. To finish this off. Just tuning it. Yes, I did illustrate this set, Stefan. That is a great question. I illustrated this set and had a ton of fun doing so. It was, it takes me quite a while for each set of these, but I just had a lot of fun to be able to kind of draw these images. All right, which way did I have it? I think like this. Place that down on a little bit of foam tape. And then let's stamp down a sentiment. And I like the sentiment about life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass, it's learning to dance in the rain. That is one of my favorite sentiments, so I'm going to use that one. And let's go in with, surprise, surprise, another acrylic block. Guys, I'm telling you, I don't even have to take my images off my acrylic blocks. I recommend doing this. Buy like 3 or 4 packs of these acrylic blocks and you'll be set. I'll put my link in for Ranger right here. And you can buy the new release, you can go shopping for anything. It'll take you to my whole product page there. And there we have these magical acrylic blocks that I love. All right. So I'm gonna stamp that down. And again, if you guys have watched my videos or you know me at all, we're going in with a little bit of clear embossing powder and throwing that over top, because the Jet Black Archival ink takes a little bit of embossing powder and it'll just make the sentiment shiny and stand out. Yes, Debbie said I'm always torn about leaving the white border, and torn as to whether or not to leave it when you're cutting. And honestly, yes, I would recommend leaving it. It's really up to you, like what you want to do, but it just depends on your background. Like if your background is super busy, I've seen people in my Facebook group just say, hey, like I feel like my background is really busy right now, and the image on top, doesn't feel like it pops. Leave that little white border, and that can sometimes help to make the image really stand out against anything that's super busy. And a lot of my cards, I gotta be honest, have busy backgrounds, so I love to leave that kind of white border around. All right, now here comes me fussy cutting around the sentiment again. I like the kind of organic look of it rather than just cutting it into a rectangle sometimes, so I'll just go in and cut it out. All right, so once that's all complete, we can grab a little bit of foam tape again. Yes, you can either Google the scissors or I'll have them linked after the live, and the links help support me as well, which is really awesome. All right, so let's go in here and add that down. And then we will go in and add it down to a card base. All right, so let's just go in with my tape runner. And add it down. And I always like to start at the top and then add it down as you go, and it should line up, and then of course you could always trim that off. But I just love how this card turned out. It was super easy to create. Of course, going in with the Splish Splash background and creating that with all of the new colors of ink that we have, Breakup Blue and on his jeans as well. And then of course going in and teaching you guys all of the different watercoloring tips and secrets. I really spilled all of the secrets that I have today. Yeah, it's just so much fun, and I absolutely love this new release. I think it's just so great for April and all of the rain I think we have coming up here. But I cannot wait for kind of the warmer weather, but this is just such an awesome, encouraging stamp set. And like I said, these sentiments are really what makes this set, I think, just so encouraging. You can really create a lot of different rainy scenes and give some encouragement to your friends. All right, guys, so I will again leave another shopping link in the chat right now. So if you guys want to check out the release or check out anything that is in my product line, definitely click that link and check it out. I cannot wait to see what you guys all create with this. Thank you everyone so much for joining. Thanks for being here, Kathy, everyone, Janine, Liz, Elizabeth. I see all of you guys in here, and it has been so amazing, and honestly, so many more of you guys. I see all of your amazing comments on my videos and on Instagram and every day, and even on my texting, which is so awesome to interact with all of you guys and know that you're here to support me, which is so amazing. And I love this little community we were able to build. So yes, check out that release. I've linked it in the chat again, and I cannot wait to see what you guys create with it. It is shipping right now, which is super exciting. So hopefully in a week or two, I can see all of your amazing projects on social media. All right, guys, I'm going to leave my Facebook group in here as well. So if you guys want to join the Facebook group, if you are creating anything using Simon Hurley Create Products, I would love to see it and interact with you guys over there. So be sure to check that out as well. Thank you, Scrapper.com, for being here. Thanks, Ranger, for being here and moderating as well. And thank you to the whole Ranger team for this amazing release and helping to make things come to life. All right, guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll be on social media for the rest of the day, talking to you guys, sharing things in my stories, and talking about this new release. I'm so, so excited about it. All right, everyone, have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.